Hola amigos, welcome back to the Latina Garden where we sow love, grow joy, and stay rooted. Today we are talking about the most elegant yet underrated flowering shrubs, the camellia. With their glossy green leaves and their showy blooms, they bring life to the garden when most flowers are sleeping. Today we are talking about how to grow them, when do they bloom, and a few tips on how to care for them. Camellias are known to be an evergreen shrub that have these rose-like blooms. They are native to Asia, especially Japan, Korea, and China. So today we are using our potting soil mix, and I am mixing some pumice. Pumice is a natural volcanic rock. It will help with drainage. It will help so that the soil doesn't stay too wet and soggy and ruin the roots of my plants, because some of them can't be in water too long. They need to kind of have good drainage. So we're using this instead of perlite. Other times I've used perlite, but I want to try how this works. If this works better, which I think it will. My plan is to slowly start collecting pots. I like the ceramic pots or terracotta pots, are way better than the plastic. I'm not a fan of the plastic for many reasons, but it doesn't have very good drainage. The plastic, it doesn't last as good. It is lightweight, so it does have some, benefits. The terracotta and the ceramic pots are a lot heavier, but I just like the way these look and are better. So I don't want to put it directly just flat on the ground. I wanted to give it some height, so that it can drain and I can see like the water draining out. So I decided to put some bricks because I happen to have them on hand. So we kind of leveled it out a little bit and putting some bricks, putting the pot in, and then I'm going to fill it up with my dirt, and then we're going to plant my camellia plant in here. So we are using organic potting mix here, that has some compost mixed into it. And I am just mixing in and breaking up all the big chunks. So today's video, you will hear my kids in the background because we are having outside play right now. They are playing volleyball, and I am getting some potting potting done. It is the only time I can really come out is if I have to bring them all out. This is gardening with kids, how to garden when they're around. I have different age groups. I have preteens and littles, toddlers. So learning to kind of work with them as I work on my yard. We share a yard, so we have to find a nice balance where we can both be happy and get what we want out of our space. So I mixed here 1 bag of soil with 1 bag of pumice, and you can see how it's mixed in quite nicely. I think this is a pretty good consistency for good drainage. So this is how I get my littles involved when I'm trying to do some work. They like to help because they see me garden, and I encourage it because I feel like, hopefully as they get older, they'll like it more and it'll spark something in them to want to garden for their future. So I mixed here my potting soil with some pumice, and now they are helping me with some containers that I've recycled from some pots, and they're getting the dirt and they're filling it into my pot over here. Thank you, boys. So nice. So helpful.
Mom, I got one of these just from over there.
Yeah.
That's fun one.
That's fine. Fill it up and then put it in the pot over there. So I've had this camellia for over a year now, and I am finally putting it up in a more proper pot. Camellias do good in pots. They can also be placed in the ground. The reason why I am not planting it in this ground is because I have this tree and I also have this other palm tree. So I have a palm tree and this is a laurel tree, and the roots on these trees are so thick that it's really hard for me to break soil in here. Besides it being just so clay soil, it's just really hard to kind of really dig in very well. So I've scratched the idea of trying to dig more plants into the ground, and I've decided I want to put things in pots instead. So for this section, I think I'm gonna just slowly start collecting pots and fill in this area with pots, and then that way it'll look better. And then as always, we want to make sure we water in our pot after potting it. We are using our brand new watering can that we just got from Home Goods. That's also where I found this pot from Home Goods, $40, not bad. It's a pretty big pot.
Why is it big, Mom?
Because I needed it to be big.
Okay. One.
So eventually I do want to put a trellis here as well to try to trellis it on this fence. That would be ideal. But I'm excited I finally got this plant potted a year later. So it's a pretty resistant plant considering it's been in a pot and it's not an adequate pot for over a year now. It wasn't the original pot it came in. I did upsize it a little bit, but still, and it bloomed earlier this year. It did bloom nicely. So here's my camellia. Most common types of camellias is the Camellia japonica, which blooms in late winter to early spring, and the Camellia sasanqua, which blooms in the fall. They grow to 6 to 12 feet tall, depending on the variety and the pruning style. Loved for both their blooms and their lush dark green leaves. This is the variety I got, which needs part sun, so 3 to 6 hours of morning sun, which this area gets. This one is called the Marie Bracy Camellia, which is a Camellia japonica, which does bloom in the winter through spring. But I actually, for my climate, I've seen flowers start as early as like late fall, mid to late fall, like I think in November. The best time to plant would be in the fall or early spring. When the weather is cool, the roots can be established. I know I am in the beginning of summer, and especially in my zone 9. It has been getting hot, but I did pot this. I transplanted it from a different pot to this one, and I try to do it as late in the evening as possible, where the temperature has started to go down. It is a little bit cooler outside, so I think it will do just fine. Especially for our warm climate, you want to make sure that it gets morning sun with afternoon shade to protect from harsh afternoon heat. This prefers acidic, well-drained soil. You can use azalea or camellia soil mix if needed. Don't plant too deep. Keep the roots just above the soil level. For watering, keep the soil moist but never soggy. Deep water during dry spells. You want to mulch. Use pine bark or leaves to retain the moisture. Keep the roots cool. Fertilizing, you want to use an acid-loving plant food after blooming. Don't fertilize in the fall or late summer. For pruning, the best time is after they finish blooming. Prune to the shape and remove the dead flowers or crossing branches. For pests, you want to watch out for T-scale and aphids. Use neem oil. I like to spray this with neem oil every so often. When I start seeing my leaves start getting eaten is when I start to spray it. A couple of tips. Camellias do well in a large pot. So that's why I grabbed this large pot here. You just want to make sure that they have acidic soil and good drainage. They look great near patios, entryways, or you can use them as screens in the garden. So I want to trellis this up on my fence here. The blooms can be floated in bowls for indoor beauty, or some varieties like the Yuletide bloom right after Christmas time, which would be great. For me, I think this is a great spot because it is where I can see straight out my window when a lot of my other plants are dead and not blooming, like my butterfly bush, my hydrangeas, my roses on and off sometimes will bloom, but not really. But this is just, I think, will be something nice so I can look out my window and just see some beautiful color flowers here on my fence. Camellias bring elegance, color, and life to the garden when you need it the most. Whether you grow it in the ground or in the pot, they are worth the wait and the care. So if you've been thinking about growing camellias in your garden, I hope this has inspired you to try. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your garden friends. And let me know in the comments if there is a variety or color that you like. And as always, sow love, grow joy, and stay rooted. See you next time. Bye, amigos.